Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Big Benedict. This is my Heavy Rain, what I guess would be hard difficulty guide. On the options menu here where I'm going to, there's three sets of options here. It says, I play video games occasionally. I'm not very familiar with the wireless controller, so I guess that would be easy. And this next difficulty says, I play video games quite regularly. I'm very familiar with the wireless controller, which I guess would be medium. And then this is the setting I'm going to be using here. I play video games very often. I am perfectly familiar with the wireless controller. So I only think the only main difference between these difficulties is that they give you less time to press the QuickTime events. And if anyone has ever watched my God of War videos, you know I am terrible with QuickTime events, and I hate them. And a lot of people just call this video game one big QuickTime event. But there's a lot more to this game. This is an amazing game. It's a narrative-driven game, and if you really enjoy video games, you really owe it to yourself to play this game and experience it, because it's more than a video game. It's an experience. I mean, it's not Ninja Gaiden or, you know, Gears of War or anything that interactive, but it's got a lot of really good controls and just really unique stuff. And I played this game last March, and I went through the campaign. And this chapter here on the IGN review, they said that the only problem that this game has, aside from like I think one or two minor issues, is that the beginning starts really fucking slow, like this chapter, and then the next chapter's slow, and then it just builds up speed a little bit. I mean, halfway through that chapter, I edited out a little bit of male nudity over here. Can't have any male buttocks. There's a couple of scenes where there's some female rear nudity too, so you're not going to be seeing that, not that you need to. I'd like to show it, but then I'd get flagged anyway. This game is it's remarkable the way they do this game. It does really depend on QuickTime events, but it uses QuickTime events in a really fun and interactive way where there's a lot of decision-based moves that you can do in the game too. So sometimes there's one character. Okay, so there's four main characters in this game, and I'm speeding all this footage up just because it takes forever. I mean, this would have been like a 30-minute video if I didn't speed it up. So I cut it down to about, I think it's around 10 minutes or a little bit less. But I want to go over the QuickTime buttons. They'll have you to walk. You hold the R2 button, and then you move with the what is it? You hold R2 and then you move with the right analog stick. And at this point in the game right here, all you're doing is walking around and pressing the L2 button to know what this guy's thinking, and you're just doing various tasks until it times out, until the wife comes home and the party starts here. There's several QuickTime events. This game uses motion controls in a really good way, and everything works well. So some of the common types of actions include you'll be asked to perform an indicated movement with the right stick, where you're rotating the right stick in like a semicircle or whatever. Sometimes you'll be asked to do a QuickTime event in the same exact manner, but you need to do it slowly. Like in a moment, he'll be putting the plates down, and to not break them, you have to do it slowly. A lot of other times you're physically moving the control up and down or left and right really fast. Sometimes you're simply pressing buttons. Other times you're holding buttons down. You're holding simultaneous buttons down. But it never feels awkward, because the buttons, it's always like you'll be holding them, the square and the X button, or the Y and the O button, which are right next to each other. Or you'll be trying to press the button before it disappears. It's almost done here, this chapter. It's just it really is slow. It's really off-putting to a new player, this game, just because there's nothing to do. I mean, there's tasks to do, but it never picks up until the next chapter. So what we have four characters here. We're introduced to the first character here, and by the way, this is just it's a game about a killer that we don't know you know, who the identity of him is among the 4 people. He's called the Origami Killer, and I'm not going to be speeding every piece of footage up, you know, because that would just be, you know, we're going to be missing any, like, really important thing. I really haven't decided, but, like, all the crucial, awesome parts, I'm not going to be speeding them up like this. I'm only doing it here because this is just really boring stuff at the beginning, but what I wanted to mention about the killer is that the Origami Killer, that is, I know who it is, so I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. But when it comes to the identity of the killer, and when we find out who it is, you could guess who it is, and I guessed incorrectly when I first played this back in March. But the identity of the killer, and don't worry, I'm not going to be spoiling a single thing, because this is one of those games that depends on your ignorance the entire time. But when you find out who it is, it's just so fucking arbitrary that it's just like any of the other 3 characters would have done just as nicely for the killer. So it makes guessing just irrelevant, and you know, if you guess right, you just guess right. And if you do guess right, that's all it is. It's just a guess. And it's not because the other characters are forgettable or they don't have motives. The majority of them do have motives, and they have problems, as we will see. And you know, there are justifiable arguments to the point where you could say, oh, it should have been this guy, or it could, no, I shouldn't say should, but it could have been this guy, it could have been the woman, anything like that. So, I really haven't decided how to do, like, the finer points of this guy, but this is just the first video in my series. I do have school that I have to do, so these guides might not be regularly published, and I have work responsibilities, but this is just something I'm doing in my free time. It's not hard, and it goes really fast. But you might be really surprised to see. I'm actually surprised that I'm doing this guide, but I wanted to bring this game to people's attention because it's a remarkable experience. And the people who made this game, Quantic Dream, they're also making Beyond Two Souls, which I really can't wait to play. So if you haven't played this game, you owe it to yourself to experience this game. And I will be bringing more content to you in the course of the next videos. This is just the first video in a really good guide. So I left the subtitles in, and I apologize for having to speak over this part. I may do some adjustments to it, like I said, some fine tuning, but like some of the really dramatic and intense scenes, I may just leave those without me speaking over them, just so you could hear the full impact of them. If there's anything I might need to add, I'll just talk about it briefly. But yeah, this is definitely because on my channel, all I do is play the hardest games on the hardest settings. Well, I shouldn't say the hardest games, but whenever I really love a game, like Ninja Gaiden or God of War, I'll jack that up to the highest setting and give myself the ultimate challenge. Dante's Inferno, and anything. Yeah, I was even talking to somebody today about Dead Space 2 and how I defeated that on hardcore, and we kind of got into a little discussion. It wasn't an argument. It was just a discussion about how some people think that hardcore mode on Dead Space is cheap. I think it's a little cheap, but it does require skill and memorization, so that kind of mitigates some of the cheapness. But I mean, you can get into a situation where you get caught and you just get fucked. But we're not playing Dead Space. We're playing Heavy Rain, and yeah. So if you haven't played this game, just give it a chance, because it does. Once things start escalating, you will not be able to stop playing. Seriously. There is some downloadable content, but it's not really worthwhile. It's not really memorable either, but it's just like there's so many. It's such also the reason I'm playing this is because there's such replayability here. There's different forks in the road. you can never die in this game. Like whatever choices, it's like a bunch of like trees that fork in different directions and roads that go in different ways, just depending on your own actions. There's one part where I'm not gonna, again, don't worry, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but like you can cause the demise of somebody by certain actions, but you can also not cause the demise of him by, you know, not doing a certain action. And you know, I'm not gonna I just don't want to ruin anybody's experience, so that's why I left the subtitles on. And so and I'm not, trust me, I'm not going to be speeding up every section of footage, but this is just an introductory, like a tutorial level where they're introducing you to the button press, because the button pressing, it really gets pretty fast paced. I mean, when you're fighting the thug in a later chapter as the detective, and one of probably the most famous parts of this game in the convenience store, it's just so tense. It's like it's really got the tone of like Seven, the movie Seven, and the old TV show Millennium, which I love. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. It was a Chris Carter show. Who Chris Carter developed the X-Files, and he also made Millennium, which was not as popular, but just as dark and just really creepy. At least season 1 was. Anyway, I love Millennium so much, but this game really feels like it, and you probably can't tell that just by looking at this level, which is really bright. And but it's supposed to be like this. It's supposed to be like so tranquil of a setting here, and things just go downhill to a point where it just gets hellacious, all these events, and it's just a roller coaster ride that you just don't want to end ever. It's just incredible. I can't speak. This game got, I think, like a 9.5, but even then, you know, if you're hesitant about playing this game, just pick it up, because it's an older game. You can probably get it for cheap. I mean, cheaper than, you know, any other game nowadays, probably, that wouldn't even be as good. So everybody take care, and I really appreciate this. I apologize. I will probably have to stretch this final little segment of video out to match my own audio dialogue here, but everybody take care, and I'll see you in the next video. We're going to be going to the mall, and something very traumatic is going to happen to Ethan's son. This is Ethan, by the way, Ethan Mars. So thanks, take care, everybody.